thinking about it. I know you're working on a conference in China right now, which time zone problems and stuff. But what's your feeling?
Yeah, so we are going. We made the decision to go fully virtual with our fifth annual China Summit, which will be in November, and made that decision for the obvious reasons. So we are also learning about what it takes to put on a virtual meeting, and there's quite a lot of components. I think what we're beginning to see, and I think also JPM, the head of investment banking, also had similar feeling in a podcast last week, is that the delegates, since you're not required to have a passport or a plane ticket and $10,000 or $15,000, we're probably going to end up having more gate attendance in China. And I think JPMorgan's also feeling the same way, and then that would also lead to more one-on-ones. So more of that to follow. From BioCentury's standpoint, we use the meeting not just to see customers and sources and clients, but we also used it internally to do a number of planning sessions. We would typically have our business plan laid out that the prior week, and we'd roll that out to the entire company, and very often have a large chunk of the company out we're headquartered in the Bay Area in Redwood Shores. This past January, we actually we had a whole company summit out. So we're maybe 90 plus. Not a massive company, but still a pretty big undertaking to get 90 people out to the Bay Area, and it allowed a lot of our new hires. We've been rapidly growing and expanding. It actually was great to get just from a company perspective, to get some of those new people in to meet with our head of marketing, or meet with our with our head of editorial, and meet some of the sales team, and I think that connection, obviously we're not going to be able to replicate this year, so we're trying to figure out, is there anything that we can do internally from a business relationship building standpoint to really set ourselves up for success and alignment as a company. And then obviously the meeting itself being face forward with clients at receptions and at one-on-ones, that's going to be challenging. We haven't figured out how we're going to attack that, but it's definitely something that we're going to have some planning meetings on in the coming weeks to lay out a strategy.
Yeah, I just signed up for the China Summit, but I just realized that I signed up to something that I might be on from 9 o'clock at night till 6 o'clock in the morning, which is interesting with one-on-one meetings. But you're doing a combination of both live and pre-recorded stuff, I'm sure.
Yeah, we haven't fully baked the program, but it's likely that we'll have at least one or maybe two live components to it.
Yeah,
but everything will also be on demand, like other events. So the plenaries and some of the other panel sessions will be pre-recorded, and then available both real time during the week, but then also on demand for those who couldn't make it for scheduling or time zone issues.
So that's something the time zone is something that's real interesting. And by the way, Mike Gato did say that they were going to run the meeting on East Coast time for them. But then we've got all the other, places and what time zone they're going to be doing it on as well, depending on where they're, working out of relevant to what part of the world that they're based in. That'll be really interesting. It may just be a 24/7. You can go around the clock at JPMorgan for a week. And as you mentioned, Martina, this could be the people doing it the week before and the week after. It could be the partnering month, because it's not necessarily has to be being there. So time zones are going to be a challenge. And then finding out which partnering system that you want to be part of, or whether they're all of them or whatever, because I think like BIOS is going to be free, and everybody may run to that. The other thing that Mike Gato said, in addition to that, we're going to have, the reason that they believe they're going to have more investor meetings too, is they've usually been limited by space on the number of meetings they can have. And I've seen the schedules that they put together, and they're pretty good, but there is a lot of space for these companies in between. So it'll be interesting of whether these investors will actually have time to be part of some of these other events as well. But I'm also feeling and felt over the last. So by the way, Erica, 26 years for me with the conference too. We probably ran into each other at some point in time.
We probably did. I'm sure we looked a bit younger as well.
And I've also personally never had a birthday at home because my birthday's always been is January 11th, and my kids grew up with never having a birthday with their dad.
You had some great parties for your birthday then.
That's right, but now they're all grown up and out of the house, so it doesn't matter. So I'd love to open it up for questions. If someone's got some questions they'd like to throw out, just go to the Q&A button and submit your question, and we're ready to do it. So, Reza, I'd like to chat a little bit about what you said earlier on our opening call about the medical meetings and stuff like that, and how this has really helped you and your business, and how this virtual meeting can be done very efficiently.
Yeah, no, Doug, that's right. I mean, I just for the audience, part of my job is to support our oncology disease area and for Novartis, and so attending key meetings throughout the year in AACR, ASCO, ESMO, triple meeting. They're and ASH at times, and even San Antonio breast cancer. They're all virtual now, and by virtue of that, we can attend them not going to an airport once, which is fantastic. What I find really useful is for somebody like me to be able to browse through the poster session in very quick time and get a feel for what has been presented. Also attend sessions pre-recorded. Sometimes I put them on 2x speed so I can see the talks of a two-hour session in hour 10 maybe. So that has been very helpful. Again, as I mentioned earlier, what I really miss is actually walking around the poster session and the hallways, not because of adding steps to my day, but just seeing old colleagues, meeting new friends, and really discussing what they're doing and hearing the elevator pitches because of a mutual friend or a mutual colleague and an introduction. That's what I really miss, and I think that's something that we all do miss. But Doug, I think in some ways, I think this new world has made it easier for some of us to attend these scientific conferences. I personally did attend Bio 2020 this year, and I found it extremely, extremely useful and productive, and really it did eliminate going from those booths to booths and always being lost and not knowing that you're entering the right one and who is inside, and this way was very, very, very efficient for us. The setting it up was a little tricky in that we used the system in order to find the common times, and then we provided our own Microsoft Teams link to be able to connect. I think for us at the time, Zoom was not something that the company was allowing us to do for security reasons, so we were using Teams. But again, very efficient once it was all set up. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, if I could just piggyback on that, I agree with Reza that our experience with the virtual meetings has been so far very positive. There are a lot of efficiencies that you can gain. The one thing that BioCentury is sort of struggling with the virtual summit that we're putting on is the virtual setting it seems to be creating sort of this bifurcation where you can have supercharged, efficient one-on-one sessions, but when you look at things that BioCentury tends to bring to our conferences, which is like KOLs, thought leadership panels, plenary sessions, it's a little bit more challenging in a virtual setting to have that sort of high impact content come through to the audience, because it's very easy to get distracted. If you're at a live meeting, you have an agenda in front of you, you know when your one-on-ones are, and very typical, you set your agenda in advance. And with the virtual meetings, what I found, and this is even personally, is I'll do a one-on-one, I'll watch a little bit of a session, and then I'll sort of find something else to do, right? So there's nothing there, like say I'm going to meet somebody at a coffee pot, or meet somebody in the hallway. You sort of find something else to that pops up from your normal work life that all of a sudden pulls you in. So I think that it's interesting that I agree with Reza that there's a lot of efficiencies around the one-on-ones, but we're also, and I thought Bio actually did a really excellent job of promoting the daily content. Every day they had here's what you missed, or here's what you can find on the on-demand, and we're gonna try to incorporate some of that into our China meeting in November.
Good.
I would also add, I think there is also this great opportunity and a really positive that will come out of it, is that JPMorgan is so crazy expensive, and with all the hotel prices and travel and all of that, I think this year creates an opportunity for so many more companies that couldn't afford to travel to actually experience the actual JPMorgan and what it actually stands for, the Healthcare Investor Conference. So I think that's a good positive. It will allow these companies to have good pitch process that usually would not be able to do that.
So I
also think the one thing that will be challenging, and I've heard this from a number of people already, is the fact that that JPMorgan is a tone and a scene setter for the rest of the year. What are some of the key topics? What is the industry zeitgeist, if you will? Are VCs feeling flush? What is the mindset of the CEOs? What is the partnering environment? What is the M&A environment? And a lot of that you pick up, walking to the Fairmont to meet Novartis, or at the Goodwin reception, or at the distillery, or in the hallways. And I think from a lot of what I've heard, talking to a lot of colleagues and partners, is that they're really going to miss that sort of scene setting feeling that they get from being in San Francisco.
Yeah. So I've got a question from the audience I think be appropriate to talk about. How do you plan to advertise that you're open for partnering to the greater community for that week as an organization? I follow the Twitter feed quite a bit, JPM21 or JPM 2021, which is actually active right now, but utilize the Twitter feed to let people know that I'm coming. And then, of course, we've got our mailing lists and other stuff. We have clients that will put it on their website under events. But I'd love to see if you guys have ideas, if you plan on doing this, how you would probably go about doing it.
So, Doug, maybe I can get started. For us, JPMorgan is always, I sometimes characterize it as the Super Bowl of meetings. Everything leads to JPMorgan or that week in San Francisco, and then that sets the stage for that coming year for our pipeline of deals. So it's about July, August, September that when we meet with a company and it appears that they're making a lot of progress, the next statement is always, great, why don't we meet at JPMorgan? So for us, for that matter, we don't have to really advertise that we will be there. I would say 90% of the meetings I've had being part of Novartis have always been with existing relationships, and they are not de novo first time meeting a company. those always happen at other venues. And JPMorgan is a venue for us to meet with the company while we have some of the leadership, either for me, oncology leadership or corporate leadership colleagues, to hear it firsthand from the company, the story. Or we are having ongoing discussions around a deal, and this really solidifies the relationship and the path forward. So for us, we don't really have to advertise, hey, we'll be there. But I am sure our corporate communication will get it out somehow. I have no doubt. And you know who that is in our organization. He will get it done. So.
Yeah, and if I could just piggyback on that, and I just got a note from my team that it's actually our 7th annual China Summit, and we're going to have 5 live sessions. So thanks to my team for letting me know that. But in terms of like the meetings, I think it's a really good question. Is how do you, if you're a new company, how do you fly the flag? How do you, if you're the Novartises and the J&Js of the world, people obviously know that you're going to be there and be present and have a large team there. I just jumped into our BCIQ database prior to this session to see how many newly formed companies there were in the last 2 years. So if you go back to January 1st, 2019, there were more than 200 companies, biotech startups, founded in that last 18 months. And if you assume that those companies, putting back on my prior investment banking hat, the typical raise for a biotech company is about 18 to 24 months of cash. So those companies, those 200 companies, effectively will be in money raising mode. Come JPM 2021. And the question is, if you're not widely known or you don't have a massive VC syndicate, I think it's a really, really valid question. And how do you leverage the virtual meeting to let people know more about your company and that you're looking to partner or looking to, raise money? I think it's going to be a challenge, and I'd be interested to hear, from others on their plan around that as well.
Yeah, that's something we as a firm are thinking about for our clients, because they do utilize this meeting. I've had many companies that are saying they want to, leverage what's left of the event as much as possible to get in front of investors and partners. So, you've got the biotech showcase and you've got the bio partnering systems, which will attract a lot of people. Unfortunately, they also attract a huge number of vendors too, and you just need to be careful about that. But it's not going to be easy to find, know which partnering system to go to. Good public relations, that's what we do in our thing, is to help the companies get their name out as well. Putting news out and whatever. I wouldn't be putting out press releases that you're going to be there for partnering and stuff like that. But it's a lot of it is just getting and utilizing your network of people to try and reach people. Any other thoughts on that question? No? Okay. Let's see if we got we got a couple more that just popped in here. There's Pamela Weekland, who's the planner for Pfizer, and we're looking at what we will do in conjunction with what everyone else will be doing. So she says maybe you can hook up with Novartis and you guys can do something together. That's great. So the best part about JPMorgan is the business that you can conduct there quickly, and the business cards you get, and the network that you build. I walk out with probably about a 4-inch thick pile of cards. Well, I challenge all my staff that the person who has the largest deck of cards wins. This is something we're going to be missing. And we may be missing this for all of 2021. I just want to, have any of you guys personally thought of ways that, you can try and keep your network alive and not be sitting on Zoom all day? It's not going to be easy. Any thoughts? How are you going to, Martina, have you done anything with your, all your lawyers, your 120 lawyers? How do you get them to the office, or at least get them off of the client Zooms and out there networking?
Yeah. I mean, since the start of pandemic, we've done as a firm tremendously. We as a firm rapidly came together and to really help our clients through this disruption that they've been going through. We've been at forefront of all the issues that were related to COVID-19. A lot of our clients are, discovering and trying to put together the tests. And, one of our major clients, Moderna, is trying to get the vaccine out. So we've done, I have to say, over 190 client communications relative to COVID. We, as a firm, have done now in the last 7 months, 98 webinars, and 40 of those are life sciences related. So we've been in touch through so many channels of communications with our clients and prospects and targets that we've launched a new blog, Life Sciences Perspectives blog, where we're staying on top of all the issues, and we'll continue to do so. That way, our partners are working on some of the most novel and complex deals that are happening virtually. I mean, there are companies going public, they have their roadshows that are happening virtually, and it's happening, it's active. So, it is hard, there is no human touch, but we're all trying to find ways to connect with our audience. And unfortunately now, it's only in the virtual world.
Yeah, and I think also we run the risk of having a very fractionated audience. Given the fact that JPMorgan will have their system, the Showcase will have their system, Bio will have theirs. I'm sure a number of the IR firms will also be, running their system. So, I think companies probably need to be strategic about, what systems they're in. They might need a broader group of attendees to be participating in and visible in a lot of these platforms. So I think companies will need to think about that going into the event. Like, does it make sense to be at on 4 platforms versus 2 platforms, and having both the CEO and the CFO and the head of BD in the meeting, versus kind of diluting and covering 3 platforms, but it's just one attendee. I think one of the things that's really useful about JPMorgan, especially when you're in a sort of a company private room setting, is you can bring I can bring our CEO into the meeting discussion, and I think that's incredibly useful, and it's very powerful as well, to our with our partners or some of our customers.
Eric, on the other hand, for a small company, from going from Westin to Marriott and then next hour go to Fairmont, it's just almost impossible to do it every 30 minutes, versus now with the virtual world, companies and us, we can literally fill up every 30 minutes with 25 minutes meetings and 5 minutes of greeting in the front and thanking them in the back. So, in many ways, glass half full is that, when I was a small company, really it was 1 meeting per hour. Now it could be 2 meetings per hour. So now the outreach is larger, and you're not paying for the travel. So therefore, maybe you could sign up for 2 events, and maybe you can do one from Sunday to Monday and the other one Tuesday to Wednesday. I don't know. I mean, coming from a biotech with very limited budget, this is one way to maximize your presence, virtual presence, if you will. And why not? You're not traveling. And so if you have to be up from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m., so be it. This is it. So anyway, that's
no, I
another
agree.
way of thinking about it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a very low risk. There's no, aside from maybe losing a little bit of sleep, there's no risk in signing up for, these platforms. You can, maximize the amount of the meetings that you can take.
Yeah.
Yeah, right now, I was just talking to George in my group, and he's identified 6 different platforms that are going to be used there right now with current organizations. There's Meeting Mojo, Partnering One, which is the EBD group, and the Bio and Showcase. Then there's the Bio One-on-One. There's a Biotech Gate out there that's going to be doing some stuff. There's MeetMax, which almost all of I believe JPMorgan will be using, and most of the financial firms use. And we've used MeetMax over the years as well. And then Global Meet is another one that's being used over there. So it's something that's it's going to be hard juggling all those. Again, what we need is an app or a software program that will link us up to all these things and manage our schedule internally for something like that. But we're still 2.5 months away, and October, or three months away. And we've got these 5, 6 systems already in the place. So it's going to be hard to juggle. We're going to all going to have to be hiring assistants to help us out with our schedules. Good. Let's see if there's any more questions. I don't know if you guys want to bring up anything. Have there been any really well-run events that you've attended virtually that you thought over the last couple of months that had offered some new things and was just very efficient in the way it worked? Because I know people are still trying to get the kinks out of a lot of these things. But I was actually on the ESMO one for a little while, and that was pretty interesting to go onto that. And I actually follow TweetDeck. So I follow the Twitter handle, the hashtag for the conference, so you see where the news is coming, and then you can jump right over to some of the presentations when they're actually live. So that's a good way to do the meetings. I bet with JPM20, the hashtag and Twitter will allow people to be able to find things as well. But yeah, any events that you've been to?
Yeah, so Doug, our experience, in the 6 months we've been in the pandemic is that with the virtual setting, as Reza pointed out, we're actually able to get a lot more of our junior people involved in these meetings, which I think is a great way for them to to learn, and quickly, versus a physical setting where you've got the cost of travel and hotel and X, Y, and Z. So we're getting a broader a team that's participating in the meetings, and I also think that one of the things that this goes back to how financial information used to be disseminated, where you used to have Regulation FD was put in place because effectively banks like JPMorgan and others would kind of have a sort of an inside network with their analysts and their institutional investors. And I mean, effectively they would have what was, pre-internet, it was their analyst day, which was effectively like behind closed doors, where they'd be getting information that would only be disseminated to a small group of people. That was actually a very powerful structure if you were on the inside of that network. And I think, obviously the internet's, broken down those walls. And I think what we're seeing now in the virtual setting is another set of walls getting broken down, which is like, JPMorgan effectively is not necessarily going to be gating, who comes to San Francisco in January. I mean, clearly they'll have their institutional investors and their VIPs and their company CEOs, but I mean, effectively going to a virtual setting with all these meetings is going to be able to open the doors to companies big and small, investors big and small, to participate in these one-on-ones and the discussions.
Yeah, it'll be interesting if they open up the presentations to the world if JPMorgan does that, and keep the partnering system quiet. I also heard they're not going to be doing breakout sessions, but they're going to offer, I think, 10 or 15 minutes afterwards to continue the video cast if it's live. I think private companies are going to be pre-recorded from what I understand for them as well. Yeah, it's been harder and harder every year to get a pass for that actually conference, and as most of us have probably, I know my staff never get to go in, and I love to walk around in there when I can. Good. See if we've got, someone else popped another question up here. Sorry. So Mitzi Connors is wondering if any companies are planning virtual receptions. I have not seen that yet. There are some software packages out there that allow people to meet around tables. You come in, and maybe all the people that are in oncology can go to a table, and they'll have 6 people there that can chat among themselves on the Zoom, and then go back into the big area and look at the different tables and find another one to chat, which is kind of cool. If they do it during cocktail hour, it could be kind of fun. But I will tell you, I'm going to miss the receptions.
Yeah, I agree. Doug, to your question, and I think it's a good segue into this question about reception. What works, what doesn't work in virtual world, and what I experience. I think the panel sessions, the company's presentations, one-on-one meetings, all those have been very successful. I have not seen a successful reception type virtual meet. It's just very weird. I have not participated in one that I could say, oh my God, I really had fun and that was awesome. I think with the virtual world, we just have to not do some of the things that we would have done in live setting. I just recently, we participated in awards ceremony that was great, that awards were given to companies, but again, the awards did not have the same feel. It didn't have that grand, amazing feel as they usually are. So, sometimes you kind of have to ask yourself whether it's worth not even the dollars here at this point. It's whether it's worth the effort, or we should be putting our efforts towards something that is more beneficial to our clients and our audiences.
So Doug, you always praise the receptions. I think for us, at least for me, by December 5th, the first week of December, my schedule is usually pretty full for the meetings. But then at that point is where I start to invite folks to our reception beyond our list to then meet them there quickly. At least we have met in person. And then we follow up latter part of January, early February. So that's another vehicle for us, at least, to get to at least meet somebody in person, even if it's 5-10 minutes of, hey, how you doing? Nice to meet you. As you said, exchange the cards, and then we reconnect, the latter part of January, early February. So that's going to be missing. And I wish there was a way to do this virtual reception, but frankly, I'm not sure what the participation would be on all sides, both on the sell side and buy side, if you will, on something that is just a little chaotic in virtual setting. The other thing I want to comment, Doug, is that I'm curious to see how these meetings will improve in 2021, where, the meeting organizers are getting better. The technology is getting better. The MC of the session is getting better. Presenters are getting more used to not being in front of audience and being in front of this 2D world. I think it's going to just get better. And I'm actually excited about it and looking forward to it.
Interesting. Good. I wanted to, there's something you said earlier about watching the presentations in 2X. That's actually pretty interesting because I haven't done that, and I never thought about that. But if people are doing all these pre-recorded presentations, they ought to see what they look like at 2x. Or they sound like Donald Duck or whatever, just as a double check, because that's probably going to be, a lot of people are going to be probably doing that as things move on. But because 2x, you can still understand what people are saying, right?
Yeah, and I just want to make sure it's not coming from a point of arrogance or lack of interest. It's just more efficient, and it's at least that way I can see more. That's the way. Another way of thinking about it is that the person could attend 3 sessions instead of 2 in a matter of 2 hours.
So good. Bernard Fallon just sent me a message that Bio is going to also have, in addition to their one-on-one partnering system, one of the table networking program. They'll be going on all the time, which will be interesting. So that's great news. Anybody else have any other things that they have put up?
Yeah, Doug, while you're looking, just to double down on Reza's comment, I think the receptions, as he points out, are a great way to cast a wider net. The physical meeting, you're limited to the amount of one-on-ones and lunches and coffees you can do, and very often when somebody reaches out late in the game and you want to be able to meet with them, but your schedule is booked, the reception is a great way to just say, well, let's have a drink at our reception, and here are the details. And then that way it's you feel like you're giving them an opportunity to sort of fit into the schedule, but not actually blocking out a 30-minute or an hour session.
Yeah. So John Boyce just commented that he sees this is a great opportunity for democratizing the process, where small companies that normally can't afford to go to JPMorgan will be able to go, which is great. He also asked Martina if Goodwin is putting in do they put any efforts to link their early stage clients with VCs? I know you guys do that all the time as a firm.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great idea, and I'm always thinking in the direction of how do we connect the dots. We are working both with VCs and early stage companies, and we absolutely are looking into it, how to do it better virtually. We have put together investors conferences so far. We've done one, and we're planning another one. We have not yet done one with connecting earlier stage companies with VCs, but great idea. I'll look into it. Thank you, John Boyce.
Yeah. The interesting thing that we've learned over the last probably 10 years is that the VCs aren't there to meet companies that much, new companies. They're really there to meet with their LPs and spend time with other VCs around syndication and stuff. And of course, they spend a lot of time with the pharma companies. I know you guys pull them in and want to go through their portfolio because it's a very efficient way to do it. And they actually call me in as well. Then the pharma companies I get meetings with that they want to just go through my portfolio of clients to be able to just see if there's something of interest. So it's like super speed dating. You get a half an hour and you got to pitch 27 different companies in a half an hour to someone. But that's going to be interesting on how they're going to be able to get that flow back for them.
So Doug, we are consciously, in part of our proactive search and evaluation, we're consciously doing that with VCs now on a regular basis and not leave it for JPMorgan. This has nothing to do with the virtual world. This is just, we've realized that this is a great vehicle for us to, and it's I think it's beneficial to both sides. And we love it. I mean, I personally absolutely love it. And, usually they send us a list of portfolio companies, and invariably good companies have syndicated. So if we look at 5 or 6 VCs, there's the Venn diagram starts to have a lot of overlaps of portfolio companies. But we picked 3 or 4, and then we, have 10 minutes per. And then if there's more interest, then we connect with the company directly with the CEO or business development person in the company and go from there. So that's something definitely that one of the questions that you brought, how are you compensating for lack of these hallway and reception gatherings. That's one way. I think one thing that you brought up, Doug, in our last week's call, actually using LinkedIn, actually now it's more than ever before, could be useful. Everybody prides themselves for a number of hundreds of links that they have, but yet they don't do anything with it. So now it's a time to use it. And I don't know how to bin it and how to search for specific things you want to keep track of or people that you want to connect with. But that's another way of doing it. And I encourage the audience to do it the other way around. Use those links. Invariably, most that I get is from recruiters. I wish there was more companies reaching out through LinkedIn. So
yeah, no, that's something I brought up. So I forced myself to go into LinkedIn before the end of the day and just kind of randomly post around, pop around I think I have like 2,500 links and look for some people I haven't talked to in a long time, and then make it a habit to try and reach out to them with an email and try and just get together with that. And I found 100% reception with these people, especially sometimes ones I haven't, I've never met in person, but I've talked to on the phone or something. And people are very receptive to that. And I'm not selling them my services. I'm just building my network with them. But guess what? They remind me, oh, I have this new company that we're about to start, and I'd love to introduce you to them. So it's working both ways, but it's also keeping me and keeping what I call keeping your network alive. I tell this to people that are always looking for a job. You don't just walk into a room and meet somebody and then leave. You remind them you're still there every once in a while with some way to do that, and especially when you're looking for a job. Those people.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point, and also it sort of dovetails into the virtual meetings. One of the things, it's sort of like both are a way to keep the network discussion alive. And I think what our teams found with the virtual meetings, typically those we just opened our China Summit one-on-one meeting portal today. So there's typically an 8 to 10 week lead time on the one-on-one meeting matchups, and very often, and Reza, I'm sure you would support this. You're very focused depending on what type of meeting it is. If it's a partnering meeting, you don't want to, you want to focus on certain partnerships. And what our team has found is that starting the discussion through the one-on-one portal, they may not, the person may not be able to meet during that week of the meeting, but they're more than willing to meet either before or after the meeting on something that may not be meeting specific. So I would encourage people, for those who haven't really participated in a virtual meeting session, is to use that not just for JPMorgan Week, but to really just to open a relationship and a discussion. And very often you can either have a meeting in December or you can have a meeting in February around those one-on-one systems.
So Eric, thank you for bringing us up, because I'm planning to quote unquote attend BioEU. Unfortunately, I can't be there 1.5 days of it. Again, you remember it's Europe, so I have to be up at 2 a.m., which is fine with me. But then I'm going to use it in order to link with people. Pay attention to all the requests for meetings, do as much as I can, and then save them and say, hey, folks, I'll be happy to meet with you at another time. So thank you for bringing that up. Yes, that's a great point.
Absolutely.
And to add to that, I mean, the beauty of the virtual world is that all of these are recorded, so everybody can listen to it at their own leisure. It's, Reza, it's not working for you to participate or listen to any of the panels. You can most likely do that with the recordings. At least that's what we've been doing with all of our webinars. And that's another point where they can listen to it, and then they can reach out to certain contacts that were on the panel to follow up with questions and meetings.
So you just mentioned recording. So this is just a reminder to the audience that when you're on Zoom, anybody can record you. So if you're having a one-on-one meeting, they may not tell you that they're recording you, and they can also screenshot slides and stuff like that. So just be careful what you're saying on in these things, especially if they're, you're talking to investors or other people, and you're a public company. But you can be come back and quoted very easily with a live shot of you saying it, and they can put it up on YouTube or something if they wanted to. So, got to be careful in this virtual environment for things like that. Just get on the phone with people if something is really confidential at some point in time, and you don't want it out there. Good. So we're wrapping up here. We've only got like a minute left. I'd love to just kind of see what you guys put your crystal ball hats on, and what you see is going to be maybe JPMorgan 2022 might look like.
Yeah, my prediction is 2022 would look like a hybrid of 21 and 20. There's going to be key important meetings probably in person, albeit I think if it happens, I think we're all still wearing a mask and social distance. I'm a little pessimistic about the progress, but I feel that the remainder of 20 and totality of 21, the industry would thrive, and we will have partnerships, and barring any macroeconomic events in the world, I think it's going to be business as usual. Human beings adapt, and we're all going to do what we were doing. Sans the parties, and so be it. We'll make up for it in 23, 24, I'm sure. So, but thanks for having me, Doug. I really appreciate it. This was very good.
Yeah, and I would agree. I think 2022 JPMorgan will be, a lot will be determined with the success of the virtual meeting, but I do think that, we've, as biotech executives, have been able to adapt and find the efficiencies in the virtual model for our bioequity meeting next year. We currently are, we had to push that out a year. It was supposed to be this May in Dublin. We've pushed it out. It's still a physical event in April, but April is going to come up real quickly. And so we're looking at, as Reza pointed out, some of the hybrid options where you have a smaller in-person meeting and then a virtual component so other people can participate in the one-on-ones and the panel sessions and the Q&As. So, but I would guess that JPMorgan going forward is going to probably be a hybrid model. We have to figure out a way to get the receptions back, though.
I agree. I agree with both of you. We're at 2 o'clock, so I'm not going to speak too long. But yes, I think it's going to be a hybrid of both. I am hoping that by 2022 we will be able to have at least some kind of reception and enjoy those greatest wines in Napa. So hopefully we get some face-to-face.
So my prediction is actually a little grander in that I do believe that it will probably be hybrid. There'll be people showing up, but I also believe that all meetings are going to be hybrid in the future. You're going to go to ASCO and you can go by virtual or you can go in person. They're going to need to bring the person stuff back because a lot of these meetings are huge revenues for their organizations, and it's those trade show booths that are the ones that do it, and the people attending and the bigger bucks, because you can't charge as much for a virtual meeting. Or maybe it might turn that way, but I think all meetings in the future are going to be both hybrid and virtual. There's one meeting I'm an organizer for called the Convergence Forum. I've been doing for 16 years on the Cape Cod, which is at the end of October. You can go to convergenceforum.com, and that is going to be a hybrid meeting. It's normally a small meeting of the thought leaders in Boston, of universities, academics, biotech, investors, and it's a very wonderful location. And they're cutting it in half. They're going to put no more than 25 people in a room. They'll have 2 things going together, and it's going to be interesting. But they're going to do hybrid, both. I think that's one of the first ones, at least I've seen in our industry. Good. One other small plug is our organization is going to set up a website called jpmguide.com. It is not up right now, but we got the URL, and we're just going to post all of the different events that we think are going to be happening around that week, so people could have direct links to them as well. And we'll probably put a Twitter feed on it or something like that for people. But I really appreciate Martina, Eric, and Reza for being part of this. And I really thank the audience for their questions and for participating. It looks like we had about 80 people on this today. And I look forward to doing something like this again. Maybe we'll do an update as we get
Sounds
closer.
great, Doug. Thanks for including me.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Yeah, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.